So this is gonna be pretty much about the movies that I seen in June. This is the late version, so this is mad late. I know, I'm sorry. First movie on the list is Basquiat. Well, Basquiat is starring Jeffrey Wright and David Bowie. So the reason I started watching Basquiat was I didn't know too much about him, but I just knew about his artwork. And I didn't even know much about his artwork, so I just started to look into it. So I watched a lot of his interviews. He seemed like a very intriguing person. I knew there was a movie about him, I'd never seen it. The movie, I think, was written pretty much from the best friend's point of view of Basquiat. That's the side of the story that we get. But it's a good movie. It's inspirational just because you see how effortless he was doing his thing, and watching it, it just makes you want to be more authentic towards yourself. Seeing how Jeffrey Wright's career kind of got started when he was younger, and it started with the Basquiat movie. I'm not sure if that was his debut, but I'm pretty sure that was one of his first movies that kind of put him on the map. And so that's pretty cool to see. So next up on the list is Dogtooth by Yorgos Lanthimos. So if you heard of Poor Things, that's Yorgos Lanthimos. That's his work. Or if you heard of the famous movie The Lobster or The Killing of the Sacred Deer. But we're here to talk about Dogtooth. That's an interesting movie. It's pretty much about a controlling, manipulative father who locks his 3 adult children in pretty much in his house, the house. So they can go in the yard and stuff, but they can't leave that proximity. That's all they know. Since they were a baby, all to them being an adult, young adult, I'd say, I think they're in their mid-20s. And all they know is the house and the yard. That's it. They pretty much brainwashed their kids and made them think the way they wanted them to think. And whatever they wanted them to know, that's what they knew. They were homeschooled, so they never seen anyone else but their parents. It's a crazy movie, and I love it because it's really different. Yeah, you're gonna be like, yo, this is a really messed up movie. Like, this is a twisted movie. It just makes you think, one, there's people like this in the world, and two, you can literally teach your kids anything. And it just shows how people raise their kids and how their kids grow up. Like, whether you think that person is wilding in life, that person doesn't have any home training, things like that. It all goes into how they were raised. And this movie kind of exposes that. Next we have Hitman. It's a Netflix original, and truthfully, Netflix originals really aren't the go-to for me when it comes to movies to watch. And so Hitman is starring Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. Glenn Powell's man of the hour right now. He's in a lot of movies. He was just in Twisters. I just seen that. For a Netflix original, it was pretty good. It's not a movie to take mad serious, but it's a movie that you can enjoy, and it's fun, and it's not just incredibly stupid. A very engaging movie, keeps your attention. There's some Netflixy stuff in it, of course, but it's not over the top to me. It's one of those really enjoyable if you're just trying to take your mind off stuff and not have to deal with what's going on in the world, or you don't want something too serious, you want something nice and light but entertaining, but a thriller and sexy. Hitman is that movie. Next movie on the list is Claudine. Shout out to my mom. She's the one who told me to watch this movie, put me on. She's a movie person. She and my nana is who got me into movies. Anyway, this is one of my mom's favorite movies when she was younger. You know who's casted in it. His name is James Earl Jones. If you don't know, he's the voice of Darth Vader. He's also in the movie Sandlot, the owner of the scary dog. James Earl Jones. This was a really good movie. What's also crazy about this movie is so relevant in today's world, like legit. And so Claudine is a single mother. She has, I want to say, a lot of kids, like 4 or 5 kids. She's a single mother. The movie is based in New York. During that time, it was really important for a woman to have a man because, of course, you know, men were the breadwinners and stuff like that. She didn't have that, and so she was kind of struggling a little bit. So the main villains in the movie was the IRS. The movie is outstanding. Yeah, I gotta talk about the soundtrack in itself. So a lot of some movies are really known for the soundtrack, like Black Panther. Claudine, the soundtrack is by Gladys Knight, and that soundtrack is absolutely outstanding. So as you're watching the movie, it's a bop too. It's on YouTube, it's free, so no excuses why you can't watch it. It's on YouTube and it's free, and I don't even think there's any commercials either. If you want to impress your moms, or you want to impress black folks, something like that, say that you know the movie Claudine. Like, trust me. So next up, we have Cornbread, Earl, and Me. Same thing my mom put me on. Once my mom tells me about one movie, she goes on a tangent and tells me about all these old school movies that she really liked when she was younger. And so you even know this guy too. And this was actually his first movie that got him on. His name is Lawrence Fishburne. If you've seen Blackish, he's the grandfather. He was in The Matrix. And this was the movie when he was a young bull. And honestly, this is relevant in today's world to an extent. I know we don't see it on the news as much. I'm pretty sure it's still happening, but just depends on what world you're in, to be honest with you. The movie is about a basketball player who's really good. He's #1 in the country, and his name is Cornbread. And so Lawrence Fishburne is this little kid who idolizes Cornbread, and so they always hanging out together. He's like his hype man, pretty much. I don't even want to spoil it. It's a sad movie. It's about the justice system and everything, and how cops can really get things wrong and really take it to another level when they do get it wrong. They don't take accountability. For like this time, these are one of those older movies that told these stories. So for us, of course, it's kind of like a tired subject, but back in those times, I'm pretty sure these were one of the first movies that really made something like this. Like, this was before Boys in the Hood. So this was a very important and powerful movie for that time, because those stories weren't getting told on a cinematic level like it was in this. So this was probably a really groundbreaking movie for that time. So next up, we have The Bike Riders. It's starring Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Norman Reedus. He's from The Walking Dead. He was the biker in The Walking Dead. It's fitting. Mike Faced. He was in the movie Challengers. Jodie Comer, who does a really good job as well. The Bike Riders is pretty much self-explanatory with the title of what it's about. It's about bike riders. The movie focuses more so on Austin Butler and Tom Hardy and Jodie Comer. So Austin Butler and Jodie, they become a thing, a relationship. So it's like a love triangle, truthfully, between real world and the biker gang. Especially when the gang started. You know how things start. It's really for the love of whatever you're into that made you want to even start the gang. And Tom Hardy, he's the leader of that gang. You just see how it starts off really innocent, and how over time they get more and more invested into that gang and the things that they do. It was more important than anything else that they were doing in life and in the world. Like, more important than their families. They was putting the gang first. Yeah, but the movie's a vibe though. I ain't gonna lie, the movie's a vibe. Some people say it's boring, but I enjoyed it for what it was, truthfully. I like slow, steady movies like that sometimes. Truthfully, it gave me the vibes of Goodfellas a little bit. It didn't go that direction, but it definitely could have. It's a slower movie, so don't go in thinking it's gonna be as maybe exciting and crazy as Goodfellas, but it's still a very engaging and a fun movie. So next on board, we have A Quiet Place Day One. I'm pretty sure if you've seen the previous Quiet Place movies, you understand what it's about. But this is going back to like the literal day one of it being a thing. Truthfully, I think a lot more people liked it than I did. Low key, it wasn't bad. Truthfully, the cat was the main character in this movie, and I think that's what kind of blew me in some points, because I'm like, it's really unrealistic in certain ways. I know it's a movie. No way is this cat still gonna be here after all this shenanigans that's going down right now. Ain't no way. But it's a good movie. It has some jump scares in it, of course. I liked how they kind of showed a little bit more of the monsters and like how they move. You still don't know where they came from or anything like that, but you kind of saw them do a little bit more than you have in the previous movies of like how they kind of live, like can they think and stuff like that. And you kind of saw a little bit more of that, and that was intriguing. That was cool. I love adventure movies. You kind of go on a nice little adventure of the city of New York. I don't really have much to say about it. It's nothing crazy. I'm sure if you've seen the other ones, you'll enjoy this one too. I think they're in order of how they came out, is like the order of which one is the best to me. I think they should stop though. I think they should stop making them after this one. I don't want them to drag it. Next up, we have Bad Boys. I will say, I was really dogging this movie from the trailers. I had no intentions on seeing this movie at all in theaters. Zero. But from word of mouth, I heard that it was actually okay. It wasn't bad. Compared to the third one, which was absolutely trifling. I went to go check it out. I ain't gonna lie. I enjoyed it. Quite a lot, actually. It's a very good time. And what I like most about the movie, it did not take itself too seriously. And I think that's what they did wrong in the third one. They took themselves too seriously. And clearly we know how like the shape Martin Lawrence is in, right? We know. They wasn't thinking like that in the third one. They still kind of made it seem like he had, you know what I'm saying, back in the 90s. Nah. But this fourth one, they did it correctly. They didn't make him do too much because we all know he can't do too much. There's a lot of cameos in this movie as well. Like a lot of other famous influencers and stuff like that was in the movie if you catch it. But it's a really enjoyable movie. I actually really liked it. The cinematography was cool. Specifically this guns scene towards the end of the movie, back end of the movie. You'll know what I'm talking about. Pretty sure how it ended. There's gonna be another one, I think. And I'm looking forward to it, especially if they keep that same energy like they had in this one. And I think they are, because they see that this one's gonna get a lot better ratings and views. But I enjoyed this movie. This is a really good movie to watch, specifically in theaters. If you have, hopefully you did. It's definitely not in theaters anymore. This next movie is The Producers. And so, like I said before, how my mom goes on tangents about movies to watch, this was one of them ones. Starring Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel. So you guys know who Gene Wilder is. He's actually the star actor in Willy Wonka, the older Willy Wonka. That's him in this movie, and it was actually cool. I only known him from Willy Wonka. I like this movie. This movie is witty. This movie is cool. It's goofy as hell, but it's funny. And Zero Mostel is actually a really funny comedian in real life too, and he does a great job in this movie. I like his facial expressions. They're hilarious. And just how he moved. Them two work really well together. Like, they complement each other very well. Truthfully, in this movie, Gene Wilder, this movie, actually just thinking about it, gives me the Nice Guys vibe. I don't know if you've seen that movie, another good one. Their duo and how they work with each other gives me Nice Guy vibes. Gene Wilder is definitely Ryan Gosling in this movie. Wow. I really just thought about that just talking about it. It's pretty much, and this, I'm pretty sure they do this in today's age because how movies be trash now. They wanted to make a movie, so to be producers of a play, and they wanted to play The Tank, and so check it out to see how that goes. But it's a fun movie. I highly recommend to watch it if you're trying to find something a little lighthearted and different. And older movies, if you're into it. This movie came out in 1967. It's in color, don't worry. So next up we have Psycho. So now we just going back to the classics and the oldies. So Psycho, if you haven't known, it's a movie that was made by a famous director, Alfred Hitchcock. That's a really classic thriller horror movie. I've seen it plenty of times already, but I just really felt like watching it again because I just like how it's shot. I like the acting in it, and I like the story. Still really entertaining to this day. Like, even for a black and white movie, it still catches you and it keeps you engaged, and it still is up to par with movies in today's world, which is crazy. So next we have Challengers. So this is, when I saw it in June, this was my second time watching it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and that's why I wanted to watch it again. It's probably one of the funnest movies of the year so far. I think what made the movie so entertaining itself was the drama. The drama was perfect, man. It was so perfect. I did not want this movie to end because I was just curious what was going to happen after. I wanted to make a second one, but that's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. Honestly, I think it's like 50-50. You either really liked it or you hated the movie. I don't think it's really an in-between. One, the cinematography is fire. Story is fire. Smart. The acting was really well done. They worked really well together, the three of them. The chemistry was really much there. And truthfully, what made the movie really work too, it kind of gave old school vibes. So how we were just talking about Psycho, what made it work too was because there was no sex. Not saying I care about that, truthfully. I mean, I do, but I don't. But some movies, they kind of have random unnecessary sex scenes. This had no sex scenes, but it still felt like it was sex all over the place. It was a really sexy movie, but they were able to get it done just from the making out. They made out back in the day too. If it doesn't get any Oscar awards, it's gonna be nominated for Best Screenplay. Like, I would be outraged if this does not get nominated for Best Original Screenplays in the Oscars. But I watched a lot of movies, I ain't gonna lie to you. Next movie is I Saw the TV Glow. I didn't know much about the movie, but I will definitely say this was probably one of my favorite movies that I've seen so far this year as well. It resonated with me very, very well. Like, I felt this movie, especially at the end and stuff when they really started revealing some things. And it's sad with me. I just thought about the movie a lot. I love how this movie was shot. It gave off a really old school vibe, like 90s. And a lot of the references too was like 90s Nickelodeon. So if you was a fan of that, you probably will be a fan of this movie. It's kind of a difficult movie to get her point across the way she did of what she was going for, and she did a good job doing it. This is a slow burn too though. So, and it's easy, I think, for you to also kind of get off track and get confused and to get frustrated and to kind of be like, what am I watching? What is this about? This is really kind of a silly, redundant movie. It's really easy to fall into that, but don't. Watch the whole movie. Later on down the road, a lot of people are gonna come back to this movie, and this is like the hip movie to know. I give it like 3-4 years. Next movie up is Kids. Now, Kids is also one of them ones, but this movie is really, really, really like wicked in a bad way. Well, a lot of people think it's really cool, but it's really sad, really, when you get into the really inside of it. Outside looking in, you think it's mad cool, but really though, it's really effed up. Kids is about pretty much kids in New York City. It's about different stories about different people. Like, some of them is maybe high school, but some of them is like 13, 14, and like you're young, bro. But they're living like they're grown-ups. But this movie is crazy because that's how a lot of kids try to be now, especially in high school. They try to grow up fast, do a whole bunch of stuff, wilding out. It's like a Project X. This was like Project X before Project X, low key. And you watch this movie and you were youngin' and you watch this, it's gonna traumatize you. It's really deep. It's really, really deep. The ending is really just gonna kind of have you in shock and just angry and just like, wow. And it's gonna really hit you. It should hit you. It's an important movie to watch though. So next on the list is Suspiria. It's actually kind of a star-studded cast. I would say this. This was a crazy movie, dog. I would definitely say if you're not into like those horror movies that's really deep with like satanic stuff and like gets really, really dark, this is not the movie for you. Especially towards the end of the movie, yeah. But if that stuff doesn't startle you or bother you, I will say this is a very intriguing movie. The movie is actually based off of a book, so it's about dancers that are kind of into, not even kind of, they're into witchcraft. They're dancers who are into witchcraft. I want you to kind of go in like not knowing a lot. This movie is 2.5 hours. So if you're not into long movies, you will not like this. It's kind of slow at the beginning as well. You probably won't like this either. But I will say it's worth your wait. I mean, it's worth watching. And it's crazy though. It's very crazy. And I would say this is a great movie to watch. And this is honestly, I think probably Dakota Johnson's best movie that she's been in. It gets really crazy at the end. So definitely, if you are impatient, the ending is worth your wait. And next up on the list is The Favorite, and that's another movie that was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. And I really just went down that rabbit hole of a lot of his movies. And in this movie, it's starring Emma Stone, of course. Emma Stone is in a lot of his movies, as of recently. Abigail, which is Emma Stone, she went through a lot pretty much when she was younger. I will let you figure that out for yourself. She's looking for employment. She comes to this new place of royalty. When she gets there, she's at the lower tier, but she's always been used to being on the higher tier. She kind of finessed her way to be cool with the queen. The queen's sidekick, she kind of sees through all of it and she's not having it. So they kind of have a back and forth of trying to be the favorite for the queen. And it's very good. It's really interesting. It's really witty. It's very competitive. And it's really brilliantly shot too. That's when he kind of started, I think, really using the fisheye lens and the really wide angle. You see it a lot in this movie. It can be funny at times. It can be really serious at times. The ending is gonna have you like, dang. And kind of makes you think a little bit too. And so I really recommend The Favorite. Next movie on the list is The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Yorgos Lanthimos is another movie of his. He makes really interesting, different movies. Horror, thriller, really mystery, like creepy movies. That's his style. I like it. I love movies like that. So Killing of the Sacred Deer is about pretty much a doctor who seems to have a certain interest with this random kid. As you watch it, you kind of use your context clues of why he has such this intricate relationship with him. But it comes with a cost because the kid has a lot of like anger and animosity, and you'll see why, and you'll see how he uses that animosity. And this is one of those movies that's gonna have you thinking, it's gonna have head scratch you a little bit in some moments, but it's really interesting. You're gonna be engaged because you're gonna want to know what's gonna happen next. And this is one of those exciting movies. This is a fun movie to watch with a group of people too. I think it's something that you all can get a kick out of and really be entertained as a group. Killing of the Sacred Deer. I really recommend that book. I really recommend this movie as well. So next up on the list, we have Bones and All. And this movie is also directed by Luca. And Luca, he's the director of Challengers. So I've been watching a lot of Yorgos movies and Luca movies. But this movie is pretty much about... Actually, I'm not gonna tell you what that movie's about, because I think that's not a spoiler. But if you don't know anything about the movie and you just watch it, you're gonna be like, what in the world? Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell pretty much find each other. You kind of just watch them like fall in love together, live life and travel and adventure the world together. Well, certain parts of the country together, and why they figure this gift that they have. It's a really touching movie. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it doesn't feel that long, really. It's beautifully shot. I like the story. It's more on the chill level, so I think could be considered a boring movie to some people. I liked it. This is necessarily not a movie I would possibly go back to all the time. I think this is a movie, if you don't know much about it, just watch it if you can find it. I think it's on Amazon Prime, so just watch the movie. Don't read the description, just watch it. I think you'll like it, especially if you're a Timothée Chalamet fan. So I think you'll be alright. Next movie is Evil Does Not Exist. The movie was directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi. And for me, he's known for the movie Drive My Car. He's a very good director, and this was his most recent film. This is by far his most shortest film, for sure, because Drive My Car was, if I'm not mistaken, about a 3-hour movie. And he also has a movie called Happy Hour, and that movie's 5 hours. 5 hours. But this movie as well is very kind of a slow burn. And so this movie is about pretty much a man who lives on a small village. There's other villagers, and there's this big company that's trying to plant this tourist-seeking, tourist-leeching business and kind of a resort, a camping resort on that village. But a lot of the villagers aren't really with it, because they have this really sacred river that they get their fresh water from, and having that resort there would kind of mess everything up. It gets a little bit deeper than just about that, and I don't want to go into that, because if you go to watch this movie, I want you to kind of get the feel for yourself. I don't want to talk too much, but the cinematography in this movie is really, really well done. The storytelling as well in this movie I liked it a lot. It comes full circle as well at the end if you really pay attention to what's going on. And so I think you would really enjoy this movie. Personally, I really did. Don't pay too much attention to the title. The title is misleading. Last but definitely not least, we have Kinds of Kindness. This movie was also directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. This was his most recent film. Yeah, this was a really star-studded cast. Yeah, you can just tell they had a lot of fun with this movie. What this movie is about particularly, kinds of kindness, and how dark it is to really show kinds of kindness. Really, just think about that during this whole time you watch it. That's all I'm gonna say about what it's 3 different stories, and they're all completely different with the same cast, but they're all playing a different character in each story. And each story is crazy. Great movie, it's a lot of fun. I actually want to see this movie again. It's experimental. I hope we have a little bit more original movies that are similar to this. It doesn't have to be just like it, but just more original movies that are different and not the same that we're used to when it comes to Hollywood movies and stuff like that. And so I think we'll get a lot more of those, especially a lot more from him, because he's actually having another film that he's about to come out with, and guess who's starring in it? Emma Stone. But yeah, this is a great movie. Highly recommend. So that's all I have for you today. And I know this was a super late review for June. I just had this list already made, and so I really wanted to kind of let you guys know what I seen last month. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I have introduced you to movies that you have not seen, but you actually end up really enjoying. I really do, because I love being introduced to movies that I had no idea existed, and then I end up loving it. It's like finding a brand new song that you did not know that you absolutely adored. And if you like these type of videos, please comment down below, leave a like, and please share, please subscribe as well. If you have movie recommendations, please let me know in the comments as well. And I will see you next time.